Hi, folks. Thanks so much for joining me here on Wave Now. I'm Myra Ansari. Today, we're going live to Frankfurt, where the governor and several other folks are coming together to talk about Childhood Awareness Cancer Day here in Kentucky. Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. That's happening today at the Kentucky State Capitol Rotunda. So we're waiting for this press conference to start. I think a lot of us have been impacted by cancer in some way, shape, or form. We know somebody who has suffered from cancer. We know someone who's battling it right now. And when it impacts children, it's just absolutely devastating. Just looking at some information I just Googled on the internet, that childhood cancer can happen typically between when the baby is an infant, ages not even a year to 19 years old. It is rare but serious condition that affects thousands of children worldwide each year. And the most common types of childhood cancer are leukemia, brain and spinal cord tumors, lymphoma, neuroblastoma, Willem's tumor, and osteocarcinoma, and soft tissue sarcoma. So, if you've been in this situation, I know that it's just devastating to see children go through it. So we wanted to bring you this press conference live. So the governor is going to be talking along with other advocates and survivors and providing remarks. And they're going to sign a proclamation today designating Childhood Cancer Awareness Day in Kentucky. And we're just going to wait and stand by till this press conference starts. Clayton Collins, hi. Thank you so much for joining us here on YouTube. I see that you said hello. I appreciate you joining us.
Check.
Ready? Okay, hello, thank you all for joining us today for our Childhood Cancer Proclamation with the Governor. I just want to thank the Governor Beshear and the General Assembly for their continued support of the Kentucky Pediatric Cancer Research Trust Fund, and thank all of you all for coming. I'd like to have Hannah up here. I'd like to thank Dance Blue and our Raise Red, who pour into this fund and to our research and our survivors and our patients through all their efforts. I know Raise Red had their event last week and they raised over $533,000. So thank you, U of L. Thank you, U of L. And half of that money goes to research and half of the funds go to support services, and most importantly, Luna, the dog, the service dog that everybody loves. And then I'm going to let our Dance Blue representative, Hannah, talk a little bit about their event that's coming up at the end of March.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. As stated, my name is Hannah Talley. I am the overall chair for Dance Blue 2025. Dance Blue is a completely student-run and student-led philanthropy at the University of Kentucky. We have thousands of students that participate in all of our events every single year, including our 24-hour dance marathon. A third of our funds go to pediatric cancer research, so it's very vital for seeing all of our kids seeing where the cancer comes from, how we can treat it. A third of our funds go to pediatric cancer patient funds, so gas cards, food, hotels, all of those kind of things to help our kids get to clinic, have a place to stay, because we have kids come from Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, all over. And then a third of our funds go to clinic operations, so paying for our school intervention specialists, nutritionists, psychologists, social workers, all of those kind of things. We are honored to support and advocate for Kentucky's kids every single day. Our dance marathon here at the University of Kentucky is on March 29th and 30th this year. We'd be honored to have anyone and everyone join us at that event. It is something super special, and it is our 20th anniversary year for Dance Blue, so it's something super special, and we are really excited to celebrate that anniversary, and we will continue advocating for Kentucky's pediatric cancer patients until the battle is won. So thank you.
So I always say if you're BBN or L's up, it doesn't matter. Childhood cancer research and advocacy is a nonpartisan effort, and also it's a great rivalry between our two incredible research institutions here in the state of Kentucky. So we're going to start our rally, and so if everybody could join me and our Dance Blue gals can help us, we're going to start, and we want our governor to hear us chant "Cure Kentucky Kids" as he comes in to sign our proclamation. So thanks again for coming. You all ready? On three. 1, 2, 3. Cure Kentucky kids! 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 Cure Kentucky kids!
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Capitol and to the Rotunda. First off, we appreciate everyone that has taken the time to be present here today to support Kentucky in their fight against pediatric cancer, a cause which needs more support everywhere. My name is Patrick McSweeney. I am a member of the Kentucky Pediatric Cancer Research Trust Fund Board. I am an FDA patient representative. I am a bone marrow transplant nurse of almost 2 years. And most importantly, I am an 8-time cancer survivor. Seven of those times, which were against acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Now, while you will hear my story momentarily, first I would like to introduce Macy, who is Charlie's mother. I had first read about Charlie's story through their Facebook page, Charlie's Angels, and had sent Macy a message a few years back with our mutual connection being a pediatric cancer survivor and friend, Matthew Walker. That between us was very short. There was a lot more that we had in common than what was just discussed between us. And now I would like for her to share her story, to share Cameron's story, and to share Charlie's story.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Macy Quarles, and I stand before you today not just as a mother, but as the voice of my daughter, Charlie. Charlie was my light, my joy, and my greatest teacher. Though her time with us was far too short, her strength, resilience, and love left an impact that will never fade. No parent ever imagines that their child will face a battle as cruel as cancer. But when Charlie was diagnosed, our world changed in an instant. Today, I want to share her story, not just the pain of her fight, but the beauty of her spirit, the lessons she taught, and why her life continues to inspire change. Cameron and I welcomed our perfect daughter into this world on July 21st, 2020. We were just 19, still kids ourselves. Charlie arrived with big blue eyes and the most beautiful brown hair. But just 5 months into our journey, as first-time parents, we were hit with a life-shattering diagnosis. On Christmas morning, a team of doctors gave us the unimaginable news. Our baby had cancer. She was diagnosed with stage 3 neuroblastoma. In an instant, my world shattered. The room went dark, and all I could hear were their muffled voices explaining our next steps. I looked at Charlie, peacefully sleeping in her hospital crib, unaware of the storm raging around her. As a mother, the ache of knowing she didn't comprehend what was happening to her is one of the deepest pains I still carry. There was nothing I could do to save her, and I couldn't make it stop. And as treatment continued, it became all she knew. Endless pain, needles, and sickness. Her world was reduced to those sterile hospital walls. In February of 2021, she was transferred to Cincinnati Children's Hospital in the midst of a global pandemic. With visitor restrictions in place, the next few months would just be the three of us. But Charlie's story reached across nations and oceans. Between her angels, our family, and Charlie's care team, we never felt truly alone. Charlie never let her illness dim her spirit. She had an immense love for life despite the hardships that she faced. Every day she smiled, a smile that shined brighter than the sun and the moon. Our Charlie had a beautiful soul and the heart of a warrior. There was a fire within her, and in her ocean blue eyes, the prettiest sparkle, a reflection of the promise she embodied, the rainbows that now remind us of her. You could always find Charlie in her hospital crib, maraca in her hand, a cold washcloth on her head, with Baby Shark blaring from an iPad. She had heard it at least 1,000 times before, but every time felt like the first. Her joy never faded. Charlie was a miracle in every way. She defied the odds time and time again, surviving moments when doctors told us to prepare for her heart to stop. When everything was stacked against her, she persevered. There were times when she left doctors speechless, shaking their head saying, "We don't know how she did this, but that's Charlie." We never believed for a second there would ever be life without her. Her daddy made it clear to Charlie's care team, no negative words would be spoken in this room. We would only speak life over her. When doctors pulled us aside to deliver heartbreaking news, we wiped our tears before stepping back inside, never letting Charlie see us sad. She only knew love and happiness. That was my greatest responsibility as her mother, to protect her, to love her, and to make sure that no matter what, she always felt safe in our arms. After spending 7 months in Cincinnati, Charlie was finally coming home. She had fought so incredibly hard for this moment. Her tumor was 99% dead, and she was doing amazing. It was the week of her discharge, a moment we had all been waiting for. But suddenly everything changed. Charlie was rushed back to the pediatric intensive IC care unit. Unknowingly to us, months of toxic and grueling treatments had completely wiped out her bone marrow. With no immune system left to fight, she contracted an infection that slowly took over her body over the next 2 weeks. Charlie went into septic shock. On September 6, 2021, our precious Charlie took her final breath in mine and Cameron's arms while surrounded by the people who loved her most. If love could have saved her, she would have lived 1,000 years. This year, Charlie would be turning 5, a milestone we can only imagine instead of celebrate with her. She would have been the best big sister to our rainbow baby Oliver, guiding him with the same love and light that made her so special. Childhood cancer didn't just take Charlie from us. It stole the life she deserved and the bond Oliver should have had with his sister. Not a day goes by that we don't ache for her, but we choose to honor her in the way that we live, by living like Charlie. I refuse to let the tragedy of Charlie's death overshadow the beauty of her life. Her impact on this world was 1 in 7 billion. There was and never will be anyone like her. Even now, she continues to touch lives. Charlie united hundreds of thousands in prayer, reigniting hope in a world that often feels so hopeless. I have heard stories from people who told me that Charlie changed their lives. Cancer did not win, Charlie did. But I refuse to let her become just another number, another statistic. She was not a diagnosis. She was a child. She had lungs that took in breath, a heart that beat with love, eyes that saw the world with wonder, and a mind that dreamed. She is and always will be so much more than cancer.
Thank you, Macy, for being vulnerable and for continuing to share Charlie's spirit with us by sharing your story. Cancer takes so much from us and from our children. For some of us and our children, it takes away abilities. For some, it takes away the opportunities to make memories. For some, it takes away memories that have already been made. And for others, it takes away family members. It takes away friends. It takes away a child. And for just a brief moment, just a few seconds, I would like for us to honor and remember those that have fought pediatric cancer regardless of where they are now. As I said, cancer takes a lot from us, and we lose a lot to it. But the one thing that I will say is no one loses their fight to cancer. It is the treatments that ultimately fail them. No matter where they are, no child, no person has ever lost their fight to cancer. But it does take a lot from us. It's taken a lot from me. My journey began when I was 5 years old. In the 2.5 months leading up to my diagnosis, from April to July, I had strep 3 times in 2004, and my mom decided to take me to our local pediatrician's office to get some blood work done. From there, we were sent to Northern Children's Hospital, and on July 21st, 2004, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Following my diagnosis, I underwent 38 months worth of chemotherapy. And while I attained remission before those 38 months were over, I continued with my chemo regimen, finished completing it in September of 2007. However, I would relapse for the first time with ALL in April of 2010. After following my first relapse, I underwent another 26 months worth of chemo. This time it was high-dose chemotherapy, so it was more intense, it was harsher on my body, and it was harder on my family. And I completed that 26-month course of chemo in the summer of 2012. And again, it helped me to attain remission, but it did not keep me there. I would relapse for a second time in February of 2013. And now knowing that chemotherapy was not my long-term cure, we decided to move forward with a bone marrow transplant. The first of which I received on May 14th, 2013. And just a few days before that, I received immunosuppressive chemotherapy and radiation. And then on the day of my transplant, my older brother Joey was my donor. And that was done all at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. So we stayed up in Cincinnati for about 2 months before we were finally sent back home to Louisville. But it wouldn't be much longer before I would relapse for a third time in 2014. Now knowing that I'd undergone chemotherapy, radiation, and a bone marrow transplant, and desperate for a cure, we were pointed in the direction of the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where at the time, in 2014, a phase 1 clinical trial was being conducted by the name of CAR T-cell immunotherapy. When I received that treatment, those T cells, in August of 2014, I became patient number 34 to have ever received that treatment. And like all my other treatments before, it put me into remission, but it did not keep me there. I would relapse for a fourth time in May of 2015, and from there I was put into a new trial at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, humanized CAR-19 immunotherapy, where I became patient number 4 in that clinical trial when I received it. And again, it worked. It got me into remission, but it did not keep me there, as I would relapse for a fifth time in September of 2016. At this point, the only idea that the doctors had was to add a drug called Keytruda to my treatment regimen in conjunction with my CAR therapy to hopefully prolong the life of the T cells they were giving me to keep them around fighting the cancer longer. And it worked up until Keytruda began to cause me negative side effects in October of 2017. And so Keytruda was stopped. And 3 months later, in January of 2018, I relapsed with leukemia for a sixth time. Knowing that the T cells would not keep me in remission, I received one last dose of them, not to cure me, but as a bridge to a second bone marrow transplant, which I received on May 15th, 2018. This time, we used an unrelated, unknown donor, who we still don't know to this day, but who is a person that has given me a second chance at life. And while I am alive here today, I am not here. In fact, no one who has been affected by cancer is here without having suffered the consequences that cancer leaves us with. And my life will forever be changed and impacted by all those years of treatments that kept failing me. And Kentucky is doing an incredible job to develop new treatments so that we can not only help these kids survive, but to give them a future. So, hopefully this rally today and this proclamation today will bring about a brighter future for tomorrow. Next, I would like to thank the legislators, Senator Weiss, Lieutenant Governor Coleman, and Governor Beshear, for all the work that they have done to make Kentucky better and to make the lives of our children better in their fight against pediatric cancer. Those people have heard stories just like ours and continue to work to make a positive impact in the fight against pediatric cancer. And so now I would like to welcome Governor Beshear to make his remarks about Kentucky's fight against pediatric cancer and to hopefully inspire hope in the lives of all those affected through the signing of this proclamation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to your state capitol. Before I get started, I want to welcome all the military children who are also visiting our capitol here today. Their parents are heroes, and we are proud of the fact that the families serve side by side next to them. I also want to ask for continued family prayers for the families impacted by last week's flooding. Somehow we got hit by yet another natural disaster. Thus far, we've lost 22 Kentuckians, but like always, we'll get through that, and we'll get through it together. Now to today's important awareness event. First, thanks to Patrick for that introduction and for telling his story. What an unbelievable story of continually facing a setback, but pushing straight ahead. I know your friends and families call you the Fighting Irishman. And while I don't cheer for Notre Dame, I want you to know that we are all rooting for you. Amen. And that we hope that this is the last battle that you have to fight. And to Macy and Cameron, I think we talked in Louisville about a year ago. Thank you for sharing your truth. Charlie's story. I could tell it was hard. But today, Charlie is front and center in the capital of Kentucky. Her story is being heard. And I want you to know that her life is going to have an outsized impact on hopefully moving research forward in a way that helps so many other families. And to Oliver, who was here just a minute ago and who has some incredible hair. Oliver, you won't remember this, but I want you to know you have some really incredible parents. Together, the people in this room did something record-breaking last year. Together, we secured $14 million in state funding for pediatric cancer research last cycle. Thank you for your work on getting that done. Liz would tell you she was in that meeting. There are days that I think I work for Liz Turner. And it's the only budget meeting that I've ever said yes while in the meeting. She looked at me afterwards and said, I should have asked for more. And I said, I know in the next cycle you will, and we want you to, because we have to make headway. We have to help more families. No family should ever hear that there are no more treatments. You know what? No family should ever hear that there's not a current cure. In January, I got to celebrate y'all's accomplishments during my State of the Commonwealth address. That's the short period of time every year that a governor gets to talk about what's most important to him or her, what is on their heart. And I wanted to tell this story of what we're trying to do for pediatric cancer research. Liz joined us that night on behalf of the Pediatric Cancer Research Trust Fund Board, and let me tell you, she's one of the most incredible advocates I've met. If you're on that board, would you raise your hand so we can recognize your hard work? As you know, I got to know Liz and David Sr.'s son, David Turner Jr., when he came to the Capitol and came into my office. Seth came in today. Seth, you did a really good job as governor. I'll keep that seat warm for you. Seth has gone through 5 different rounds of cancer and is here with us today in remission, cancer-free. Seth, we're really proud of you. That day, David Turner Jr. came in. We pushed him up to the governor's desk. It's one of my favorite memories that I've had in 5.5 years. And we pushed him forward and we said, okay, you're governor. And I said, some would say you can only do better. But what are you going to do with it? And he said, I'm declaring National Ice Cream Day. And I said, I'm not sure a governor can do that, but we'll roll with it. And that day we declared National Ice Cream Day here in the Commonwealth. David also joined us in this rotunda that day. And then he called me through his parents during COVID. And he said he wanted to help out. And he wanted to talk about how wearing a mask was so important to a kid like him. And he came in here during one of our briefings. And he sat right over here. And we brought him that microphone. And in one of those moments, knowing that he probably had limited moments left on earth, this 9-year-old boy wanted to talk to people about how they could help other people. You know, what a special person, what a special life. And every year I'm governor, we're going to continue to celebrate National Ice Cream Day in the Commonwealth on behalf of David Turner Jr. David died of brain cancer called DIPG after an incredibly courageous battle at just 9 years old. Because of David and so many others, we are determined to make Kentucky a national leader fighting this illness. We were one of the first states in the country to include childhood cancer research funding in our budget, and we've continued to increase that funding at every opportunity. This isn't about red or blue. It's about the right thing to do. Our kids deserve this funding and more. Every child deserves to grow up healthy. Charlie deserved to grow up just like my two have, and just like Oliver will. These are some of the toughest and bravest kids that I've ever met. And every opportunity I have to meet the next one and the next one, I think it just enriches the lives of everybody around to see that incredible strength. Can I ask every childhood cancer survivor in the room to please raise your hand so that we can recognize you and everything that you've done? We are so proud of you. And we're proud of your siblings too, who also have to face fear and uncertainty that nobody should have to go through. They stand at your side. I know they worry and wonder, not just for you, but the impact on their life and the lives of so many others. So can we take a moment to thank the siblings, the parents, the family members, and all the medical professionals that are there for all of these kids. If I could just take a moment to thank the college students that are here with us today. I mean, there's a lot of things you can be doing in college and a lot of things that people do in college, but you've taken the time out of your schedule at this point in your life to do something really special for other people, to continue a tradition of raising a lot of money, to dance for a number of days straight, just to make sure that you're doing everything you can. Thank you for your work and how it impacts the people of the Commonwealth. As the families here know better than everyone, the cancer diagnosis sends families on a physical, emotional, and financial roller coaster. And worst of all, we're losing some kids to cancer that never have a chance to grow up, that never get that chance in their adulthood to make the positive impacts that we know they would make. Childhood cancer is the #1 cause of death by disease in children. As a governor, as a dad of 2 kids who are my world, I cannot accept that. I will not accept that. It means there is more that we can do, more we should do, and that there are better outcomes in front of us if we work harder. We have to fund research for new treatments. We have to make sure every Kentucky family has affordable access because healthcare is a basic human right. It's why we relaunched Connect. It's why last week Dr. Stack announced a record 97,000 Kentuckians that had gotten health care coverage through it. It's why we expanded and worked to protect Medicaid. But folks, I don't have to tell you that as you're sitting in this rotunda here today, that there are challenges not just on the horizon, but in front of us that can impact these and other families so much. They're talking about devastating Medicaid cuts in Washington, D.C. that would impact families that need this help the most. we need to stand up and say this isn't a Democrat or a Republican issue. This is about families suffering for pediatric cancer. It's about families suffering from all types of conditions. And thank you for going to DC to fight for us in the coming days. It's the concern right now about funding for NIH. I mean, that important organization that is sending millions upon millions of dollars to some of the top researchers in the world that will hopefully find that next treatment and that next cure. That's not something we ought to turn off. That's something that we should pump more money into. And even today, there's a bill being heard in a committee that could cut up to $1.5 billion out of our state Medicaid budget and create many challenges for families on how their treatments would be approved. Let me tell you, I'm gonna stand with you, our Kentucky families, and I will fight for your ability to access health care coverage, especially for your children, every single day that I'm governor. And I want you all to know in many ways you've changed my life and the life of my family. While we face challenges, we've never faced something quite like this as a family. I still, though, remember being 17 years old and coming in after a date that didn't go very well. And my dad telling me that he had cancer and that they'd scheduled an operation, and either it was going to be successful or we were going to have some really tough discussions in my family. Thankfully, 30 years later, he is still with us, cancer-free. He's the governor that expanded Medicaid. That has been helpful to so many. I want you to know that we're going to continue to do everything we can, both as a state, but if there's any extra way that we can help you individually, it's what we want to do to be here with you, for you, and to create that future where no parent ever has to hear this diagnosis. And if they do, they say, well, no one wants to face this. Facing it in Kentucky is a place where you'll have the most support, the most research, the best physicians, the best treatment. And if I can for just a moment, I know that every family that's been through this has been surrounded by incredible doctors, nurses, and hospital families that have just surrounded them with love. Let's make sure we thank them before we leave here today. I'd close by saying you might have heard that we've got this new initiative called Our New Kentucky Home. It's about reintroducing ourselves to the world, about leaving stereotypes of the past in the past. It's about welcoming new opportunities in Kentucky. But it shouldn't just be about being an economic leader. It should be about being a moral leader, too, of making sure we're taking care of every single child growing up in the Commonwealth. I'd like to see Our New Kentucky Home be one where every child facing pediatric cancer gets the very best in the entire country, that they're never told that they need to go to another facility, though we want what's best for everybody, but that right here you can get the very, very best service and a future where we can get every single child well. To honor your efforts, I'm now proud to sign a proclamation recognizing Childhood Cancer Awareness Day in Kentucky. I'm going to invite Liz up to organize us, to let us know how we're going to do this, because again, not just today, but about half my days as governor, I'm pretty sure I work for Liz.
Well, thank you, Governor, and thank you, everybody, for taking your time to join us. So we'd like to invite individuals, family, children over to the table where the governor's going to go sit and sign the proclamation. And if you are a bereaved family and you have a photo of one of your loved ones, there's a table sitting next to the signing table. You can place that picture now. So we'll go ahead and get the photos over there and get our children to join the governor. Seth, that means you.
Seth needs his 14th pin.
Yes. Seth's brothers as well. Mallory. I'm just going to start calling names over the mic.